You know, I thought to myself after playing this new hybrid battleship line that the legendary tier Louisiana was probably a little bit cracked, but the rest of them I thought were basically okay, certainly strong, but not especially cracked. Not at least for the Connecticut or the Nebraska at tiers 6 and 7. The Delaware, on the other hand, I'm having to rethink after this match. This is going to be a very, very quick speed run in the Delaware where we will rack up 230,000 damage. The enemy team isn't going to put up that much of a fight, and we are going to play rather sloppily in the beginning, but still get away with it. One of the reasons I think the Delaware may in fact be somewhat cracked, aside from the damage output, and it does have 8 406mm guns, 2 triple turrets on the front, 1 double turret on the back. A little bit of a weird setup, but I guess you can't really fit a triple turret on the back when you've got a flight deck there, unless you're the Louisiana, in which case you can fit a quad turret back there. But anyway, it's got those main battery guns, which, as you'll see in this match, are pretty decent. And then it's also got the airstrike, and these planes drop, I believe, 5 torpedoes, which is only 1 less torpedo than the Louisiana. And then on top of that, this thing's Citadel is practically unhittable. I'll show you in a moment after we witness this drop against the Massachusetts. Of course, he's pushing straight in. We're lining up the torpedoes on the side. There they go. 1 has actually already been shot down. No, 2, in fact. These planes do get shot down from time to time, so that's not the full torpedo power, but it's enough to take quite a bit of HP off the Massachusetts, along with the salvo from our main battery guns. He's on just over half health. In any case, the armor on this thing as we go around this island here is fairly standard. I mean, it's got 38mm plating on the deck and the upper belt. That's all fine, but if you remove all the armor and take a look at the Citadel, you'll notice that it's completely underwater, except for one point. The point on the very rear of the Citadel behind that double gun turret on the back. That part sticks up above the water line. It's like a little corner of it, but the rest is underneath. So good luck aiming at that point on the ship and actually hitting the Citadel at close ranges. I don't think this thing will be citadeled at close ranges. It certainly could be citadeled by plunging fire at longer ranges, but otherwise, the Citadel is going to be quite tricky. It probably shouldn't have its Citadel completely underwater. If it did, it might be more of a problem for me to run into that friendly battleship, have to turn out of the way, and then find myself beached on this island here. Of course, we are spec'd into concealment, though, and we've got a 12-kilometer range by sea, so we will be able to keep ourselves fairly safe, even with some mistakes like this. Nebraska has just pulled out by this island. He's sitting here bow tanking. Of course, if you do that against these hybrid battleships, you will be punished. He's trying to do the same to us with his torpedoes, but he only manages to get 2 in the water, and, well, I mean, they do a fair amount of damage, but it's not the end of the world. On the other hand, all of our torpedoes hit him, all 5 there as he's reversing, and he's well on his way back to port. At this point, we've hit 9 torpedoes and 9 shells, or 10 shells, rather. Well, more than that, 16 now after that salvo, and we've got 72,000 damage done. I'd say those numbers are pretty good, considering only 4 minutes have elapsed in the game. As for the teams, we've lost a battleship, because of course we have, and the enemy team has lost 1 destroyer, because of course they have. But the majority of the enemy team is over here on this side of the map. We've got that Massachusetts hanging around behind the island. We've got the Nebraska, which has reversed out of our sight. And then finally the Constellation. And not only that, but there's a cruiser somewhere out in the distance and 2 other battleships coming in this direction, not to mention the carrier. So there's plenty of opportunities for us to deal damage here. And I don't know if this Massachusetts is AFK or what his problem is. He's not moving at all. Doesn't appear to be firing his guns at anything. Perhaps he's frustrated with the gameplay. and he's left the match, or maybe he disconnected, or maybe he is, in fact, playing and he's just kind of stuck there. In any case, the torpedoes are in the water, and once again, on a stationary target, all of them should be hitting. And they'll hit at about the same time we Citadel the Constellation twice. So we're up to 132,000 damage now. That's one of the sort of crazy gimmicks on these hybrids, is that they essentially have two main armaments. They've got these torpedoes and they've got the guns, and you can use both of them at the same time, even potentially against the same target, or against multiple targets for maximum efficiency. Now, though, the cap is clear. The Constellation is almost dead. He's having to run away. The shot is out from the main battery guns. The results, not great, but we do end up breaking a turret. And then we've got main and a cruiser pushing in. Of all the capital ships left on the red team, these are the only three, and they're right here on this side of the map. We don't know exactly where the last enemy destroyer is. Well, actually, now we do. We know he's going back to port. So it's just these three guys and then the CV somewhere out in the distance, and we're going to do our best to deal as much damage as possible. Main is not making it especially hard. We get another Citadel there on his broadside and the high caliber metal. And we're going to continue pushing in. We'll be spotted, of course, every time we shoot our main battery guns, but our concealment is so low that now that the firing penalty is worn off, none of these guys can actually see us, which means they're going to be shooting at our battleship teammate over there, who is, well, we don't see him on the screen, but if we look on the minimap, we can see he is giving broadside to them, or near enough, so he must be a very attractive target. Even if I were spotted, they might not be shooting at me. There goes the main, by the way, with another Citadel. We've got 4 so far in this match, and the rear turret of Justice does not really mete out Justice against the broadside Congress. Maybe the torpedoes will do the trick. We'll put them in the water in front of the Congress, trying to manually sort of adjust the lead there. And hopefully, some of these torpedoes will hit, but I have found it a little bit more difficult to hit torpedoes on cruisers rather than battleships. Another shot out at Constellation, just as the torpedoes do make contact with the Congress, only 3 of them, and the salvo does not take out the Constellation. We're going to continue pushing in, though. I'm not really worried at all that these guys are going to do enough damage to sink me. The flight deck on this thing, of course, is not especially well armored. The top of the deck is 38mm plating, so it can shatter quite a bit of HE. It can bounce shells from battleships at distance when they come in as plunging fire. But of course, the sides of the flight deck are 19mm, which will be penned by quite literally everything. Another bum salvo against the Constellation. I think we really need to improve these damage numbers. We're so close to 200k, and there's enough here that we can do well over 200k if we play our cards right. Guns are nearly reloaded, but I don't think we're going to fire them right away. The Congress has his bow pointed towards us. I believe his bow is 27, so I think we overmatch. But it looks like he's dead set on going after our destroyer, which means he's going to turn mostly broadside to us and expose his Citadel. So there's 216,000 damage, 17 actually, and the Congress goes down. We've got the planes back up in the air. Enemy CV is spotted by our friendly CV, and then we've got the Constellation over here. And the question, I suppose, is who do we shoot at? Do we shoot at the CV or do we shoot at the Constellation? Well, considering Constellation has gone dark and we've just gotten close enough to the CV that he's spotting us from the surface, I was thinking we'll shoot at the CV. He doesn't have a lot of HP left. We can probably take him out in one salvo. However, Constellation is still there. He's not going to let us forget about him. So we're going to dump more torpedoes in the water at close range. This, however, Constellation sees these torpedoes coming, and he makes the decision to turn right into them, which is actually going to save his life because the torpedoes don't have enough time to arm. He launched his own torpedoes at us, but they don't come anywhere near, and Constellation is about to go down. So we end this battle with 230,000 damage done in USS Delaware, the Tier 8 hybrid tech tree battleship. This thing is pretty potent, I would say. This kind of damage output is a little bit ridiculous between the guns and the torpedoes. So, this is only one example, of course, but this thing may in fact be cracked. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.